stomp a predator. Oh, whew. That sounds nice. That sounds nice. Anyway, but another predator who definitely needs his ball stomped is this fucking piece of shit former cop, former police out of Rochester, New York, you guys. Please be sure to give the video a like and a subscribe. It's Burning Down with Kim Brown. Follow us different places around the internet at BIDWKB. So the announcement of the sentencing of former Rochester police officer, I believe his name is Shawn Jordan. Shawn Jordan in 2022 admitted that he sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl. Okay. He knew and she knew that this man, he was 40 at the time, an active duty, but a member of the Rochester Police Department. He has actually another charge pending against him for allegedly sending a nude image of himself or becoming nude while on a live stream with a different teen girl. But for this case regarding his now convicted rape, Shawn Jordan recently received a sentence and was handed a sentence by, I think this is Oneida County, or is it Ontario County? Right, upstate New York. Help me out. Was this on? I think it's Ontario County. An Ontario County judge issued what many are calling a lenient sentence relative to the crime that this man is now convicted of doing, and because he was a cop. And a lot of people mistakenly believe that police are held to a bigger standard because they are themselves sworn to protect and uphold the law. Like many would think that, oh, well, if a cop breaks the law, well, then they kind of come down harder on him because he should know better, right? He knows the law. No, actually, the ways in which police are protected out here by the criminal injustice system is rather disgusting. And that disgusting aspect is reflected in this fucked up sentence that this piece of shit rapist of teenagers received. So let's take a listen to the package.
Breaking news, a former Rochester police officer who admits he committed rape has been sentenced to 10 weekends in jail. Once entrusted to enforce the law, then admitting he broke it by committing rape, and now former Rochester police officer Shawn Jordan has been sentenced to weekends in jail. Good afternoon, I'm Karen Edwards. Matt is off. 13 Wham's Daniel Finkelstein is live from Ontario County Court right now with the very latest. Daniel.
Yeah, Karen, Shawn Jordan will serve 10 weekends in jail beginning on August 25th, as well as 10 years on probation for rape. Today's sentencing marks the end of a nearly 2-year-long case. Jordan, a former Rochester police officer, was accused of having sex with a 13-year-old girl at his home in South Bristol. The victim's family was present in court today, her mother saying Jordan's actions ruined her daughter's life and he doesn't deserve to be out on the streets. Jordan was arrested and suspended from the Rochester Police Department without pay 6 months after being accused of having inappropriate conversations with a 16-year-old girl online, a separate incident in Monroe County, and allegations the police chief called reprehensible. Jordan would later resign. He pleaded guilty to rape in the second degree and forcible touching for the South Bristol case earlier this year. Today in court, the judge spoke to Jordan, saying his actions violated the public's trust, adding she feels he deserves prison, but the sentence conditions were necessary to spare the child from having to testify in court. The prosecutor also left unsatisfied by this sentence.
This is an ultimate tragedy because the parents trusted him. He's a police officer. And if we can't trust the police, then who can we trust? And it's a very difficult situation. I'm a parent of 3 children myself, and it's one of those circumstances where you just look at it and say, there by the grace of God go I, because this was a child who trusted somebody, and he was an adult, and he knew better, and he's the one to blame. There's no one else to blame.
Now, in addition to the weekends in jail and the probation term, Jordan will have to register as a sex offender, abide by an order of protection for the victim and her family, as well as pay more than $1,000 in fines. Live in Canandaigua, Daniel Finkelstein, 13 Wham News.
crazy story, right? I mean, the sentencing is reprehensible. 10 weekends, everybody. You guys ever known anyone to be sentenced to weekends in jail? Was it for rape? Because the only person I know that got sentenced to, I know two people that got sentenced to weekends, and one of them was for DUI, and I think another one had to do with some drugs, right? And they had good lawyers, so they got weekends. But the R wording of a 13-year-old to get a sentence of 10 weekends in jail and 10 years probation. Other reporting indicated that Shawn Jordan's defense attorneys really pressed the judge very hard for a lenient sentence for some obvious reasons. Number one, people that rape children are usually not treated very well in jail. And number two, police justifiably are also not treated well in jail. So when you have a cop who's a fucking piece of shit child rapist, oh, he wasn't gonna fare very well at all, right? So that factored, I believe, very heavily into the judge's decision. Now, the prosecutors claim that the judge was under some sort of, their hands were tied because the 13-year-old was not, or they preferred or opted to not to put the 13-year-old on the stand, which I'm okay with because that is a re-traumatization of the trauma that the child had already endured at the hands of the fucking piece of shit cop. Even she, as a victim, would be re-traumatized trying to exert justice on him, right? Which is fucking crazy when you think about it. That the victim has to traumatize themselves multiple times over after the initial trauma in order to get, quote, justice. Now, the 13-year-old's mother spoke up at Shawn Jordan's sentencing. The mother said that the child's life is ruined. Her words. She said that the child's life is ruined, that the child is just revisiting and rehashing the trauma that she experienced at the hands of this officer. And it's going to be a long road for this young person. And of course, we feel terrible for that. This cop, by the way, Shawn Jordan, is still, sorry, my chin was itching, is still going to be facing charges connected to the contact that he made with yet another teenager, in which he is accused of sending her inappropriate materials. I take that to mean dick pics, right? Which is a felony in New York State. So he's still facing yet another felony charge and connecting to being an outright creep towards little girls. And Shawn Jordan was 40 when he allegedly committed these acts, or at least convicted of one of these acts, allegedly committed the other. We'll see, but we know what the fuck. So what's wrong? What's going on? Like, what is the problem? Is it just accepted that young girls, and I guess young kids, because we with the foolish, let us ourselves not be foolish and think that little boys and teen boys are immune from being victims of sexual predation. They are not, right? But I just wonder, I'm in my 40s myself, and it's so weird to me when I hear people in my age range, my age mates, more or less, doing this fucking creep shit. What the fuck happened to you in the 80s? What happened to you in the 90s? And no, and trust me, shit happened. Okay. Like I don't disbelieve the shit happened, but I have to believe that people are absolutely old enough to know better. That 40-year-old man knew good and goddamn well he had no business, none whatsoever, none, talking to a 13 or a 16-year-old. He fucking knew that. And he did it anyway. And he did it under the protection of the badge. And by the way, if you did not catch that in the package, Shawn Jordan wasn't fired as a cop. He was suspended and allowed to resign. Wasn't that nice of them? Wasn't that nice of them not to fire him? He doesn't get fired for being a pedophile. Silly. he gets to quit. And he's going on the sex offender registry. And he only gets to do 10 weekends. And guys, the message that this kind of sentence sends is abhorrent. It is terrible. But unfortunately, it validates and confirms what the fuck we already knew, what we've been knew. Ain't no real consequence for sexual violence in America. I'm sorry. Like all the people who talk shit to me sometimes in the comments because I go on anti-cop rants with regularity. Well, who you go call the police? Who you go call the right? The fucking cops don't stop shit. They don't prevent a fucking thing. Even in the previous story, this dick flasher had already struck 6 times, okay, before the cops even showed the fuck up. What are we talking about? And when we look specifically at the profession of police officer and even by extension, military member, right? These are two of the jobs, the professions that have very high instances of sexual predation, of domestic violence, of child abuse. Like people who work in these occupations, not to say they all, but they stand a proportionately higher chance of doing these bad acts. And when it comes to cops, particularly male cops, these cops do a lot of these bad sexual acts whilst on the job, or they do it because they had the ability, because they had a badge. Someone in their victim knew they were police and maybe afforded them some modicum of trust as a result of their position in the community. But please, kids, everybody, the reason I tell these stories, these particular stories, and I had another story that I wanted to bring, but I wasn't able to put my hands on it quick enough, but involved a mental health worker who had allegedly committed a sexual assault against a teen. And this was a woman. And I will find that story and I will bring it to y'all. But we need to know the pervs, the pedos, the chomos, the child molesters in the community sometimes wear badges. Sometimes they coach football. Sometimes they teach in the school. Sometimes they teach Sunday school. Sometimes they're in the church. Sometimes they have titles. Sometimes they're doctors. Sometimes they're neighbors. Sometimes they're the kid's best friend's parent, step parent. Like the more you know, the more you know. Okay. Your children are not out here safe from officer friendly either. And please don't ever make the mistake, especially for those that are parents or if you have proximity to children, you know, niece, nephew, etc., younger cousins, whatever. Like, don't allow or don't be afraid to question if the parents in your life maybe sometimes give other adults some unearned trust. Oh, well, you know, Tina, let's say fucking Tina. I don't know. It's the first name I thought of. Well, Tina's, well, Officer Jordan said that he's going to pick Tina up and take her to the rec center. And I appreciate Officer Jordan picking Tina up because, you know, Tina's been a handful. She's had problems in school ever since me and her dad broke up. Tina's been having some problems. I appreciate Officer Jordan being a father figure to her and spending time with her. Don't you fucking ever in the history of fucking ever. I don't care if your child is a girl child, boy child, non-binary child. Do not let your child alone with any adult that you don't know. And when I say know, I mean know where they live. You know their home phone number. You know a family member. You know an ex-partner. Like, no, not that. See, the social media shit and all of this microwave friendship, that era that we live in, people be like, oh yeah, I know so and so, that's my friend. Bitch, you don't talk to this motherfucker on DM 2 times. How y'all friends? How is that your friend? How do you know them? You don't. And this quick familiarity with people, or this quick assumption that just because someone has a particular title or occupation in the community that renders them trustworthy. Stop. It's 2024. We cannot be this fucking dumb, naive, childish. I'm just saying unsophisticated. Just my word today. We can't be this fucking unsophisticated, guys. Your kids are on the menu. Okay. Period. And you need to assume that every adult that you don't know, I don't mean acquainted with, I don't mean that you've met. I'm literally, when I say no, conoces, saber. Okay. No conoce. You gotta saber these motherfuckers. Okay. Not acquainted with, you got to fucking know. You feel me? Know them for a long time, know them for more than a year or two. Know their work history, know their kids. You got to know them. And even if you know that shit, that doesn't mean that your kids are necessarily safe. But stop with this unearned trust of adults, especially those like teachers, like cops, like coaches, because they're, quote, supposed to be there to protect the kids. In fact, sometimes it is people in those very specific professions that chose those professions because of the proximity it gives them to children, for their ability to come in and be slick and sneaky and unsuspecting and have access to as many victims as their parents and guardians will allow them to be served up to these individuals. So fuck Shawn Jordan, roast in hell. If anybody is in Ontario County, that's my new shit. If you know anybody locked up in Ontario County, NY, and they see Officer Jordan there on the weekend starting August 25th, I believe is his first week. Y'all got 10 weekends. Y'all got 10 weekends. You got 10 shots. Okay? To do what? I'll leave it up to everybody's imagination, but we know his charges. You know what he's in there for. And if we have any COs, can I shout out to the COs? If we have any COs that are also disgusted by Officer Jordan's predatory and horrendous behavior, sexually assaulting a teenager, sending pictures of his genitals to another teenager. If you're a correctional officer and you find this kind of behavior abhorrent, maybe don't lock his door all the way. Maybe don't close the door. Maybe check in with some of the folks that are in your charge that also not too keen on the actions and behaviors of Officer Jordan. Maybe you could leave the door open. Maybe somebody could go visit him and say hello, say what's up. Just a thought, just a suggestion.